Welcome everybody to the Space Talks at 75. Under the caption Space Talks at 75, Indian Technology Congress Association is delivering a series of capacity building programs. Am I audible, please? Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Under the caption Space Talks at 75, Indian Technology Congress Association is delivering a series of capacity building programs in connection with the ongoing 75 Student Satellites mission. These talks will cover a range of thought-provoking and engaging space tech topics. This lecture series, which will be presented by a distinguished and renowned legion of space technocrats, is intended to pique the students' interest on the topic of space technologies and exploration. In this context, today's scheduled talk is on the subject Space Reimagining the Future of Learning. And for this, we have Padma Shri Awardee, Professor R.M. Vasagam, Vice President ITCA and Advisor 75 Student Satellites Mission, sharing his thoughts. Welcome, sir. Professor Vasagam, Padma Shri Awardee, is a veteran Indian space scientist and a specialist in space systems, including satellites and launch vehicles. In his career, spanning close to over 3 decades in the Indian Space Research Organization, he held responsibilities including project director for Apple, India's first indigenous geostationary communication satellite, and later was the director of advanced technology and planning at ISRO headquarters. Currently, he is the chancellor of Dr. MGR and Karpagam universities. Professor Vasagam sir is a winner of many awards and fellowships, global and Indian, and some of the noted ones and focused on space are the Hari Om Ashram Prerit Vikram Sarabhai Research Award 1981 by Department of Space, Government of India, Padma Shri by the Government of India in 1982, IEEE Sentinel Medal in 1984, the Biren Roy Award for Space in 1988, and the Systems Gold Medal from the Systems Society of India in 1999. Professor Vasagam sir is a Vice President ITCA and advisor 75 Student Satellites Mission, and is a mentor for all of us involved with this mission. With this brief introduction, I welcome Professor R.M. Vasagam sir and request him to make the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. Voice.
Disturbance. Okay, no. Voice is okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. You can put the first slide. Okay.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir?
Now it is open. Okay. I think the slides have opened, no? Okay. So anyway, I would first and foremost, let me say this good evening to all. And it is pleasant or you can say very cold place all over, I think most of the places because of the cyclone, and it is now probably receding. So the thing is, I see more than about 50 people participating now. So maybe they are different parts of the country. So first and foremost, let me welcome all of them. And the Indian Technology Congress Association, as it was explained by Srinivas, that it is a confluence of many technologies and mostly interdisciplinary activities have to be nurtured. So from that point of view, the forum was formed, and I think many activities are being taken care of. So one of them relates to the education, how to improve the quality of education, and also for the 21st century requirements, because that is the most important thing we have to see. So here, space as the curtain raiser kind of thing. We put the Dr. Somnath's thing. It is on YouTube because he has delivered it on the 75 years of Physical Research Lab, Ahmedabad, founded by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. And but he talked mostly on the launch vehicles and the rockets, because Vikram Sarabhai Space Center is primarily focused on that kind of thing. But that gives the flavor of the way in which many disciplines are brought together, and the mission, the mission mode of working, and the goal-oriented, time-bound, goal-oriented mission mode. These are the watchwords of the space program in India. Of course, in many other countries also it is so. So time-bound, goal-oriented, mission mode projects. So I think that watchword you can keep everywhere. And education, where it is now in compartmentalized form, it is being offered in the universities and many other institutions of the higher learning. But the final product has to come as a mix of so many technologies. So how we blend the thing and optimum product comes at the lowest cost and the minimum time taken and highest reliability. So highly reliable, low cost, and at the same time, innovative ideas have to be blended. So that is where I think the space is one good example. And in the learning aspects of that from the education institutions, I think this is a very good product or the area of activity, which I could say we will have to nurture. Okay, next one. Yeah, next. Yeah, but I will just go back to the origin of the space era, 1957, 4th October. The first artificial satellite Sputnik was actually Sputnik word, the Russian word means fellow traveler. So I think you have to understand how it was coined. And then manifold growth from micro, nano to heavy satellites. Hello. Scientific missions.
मुझे कर देना, मैं कर देती हूँ फोटो.
I think some
हाय केले सिमरन को बुलाते हैं.
Yeah, application missions. They followed. Scientific missions were the initial, followed by application missions. Application related to primarily for the meteorology to begin with, then oceanography, and also the geodesy and mapping. Many other things followed in the application missions. But as of now, it is 1,050 space missions envisaged with $450 billion in this decade. This is a dated one. It is a few years back, this projection was made. Now it may be even more. So this 1,050 space missions, it is in many countries. It is not alone US or the erstwhile Russian nations, or Japanese or the Asian nations, including China and India. So this is what I think we'll have to see now. So move to the next. Next. Yeah, go to the next one. Okay. Here, some of the important things which came out of the scientific missions, discovery of Van Allen belt. It is the radiation belt around the Earth. Earth has a magnetic field, and also the solar, the particles coming from the sun and many other things are getting trapped in the magnetic field. And the Van Allen belt is one thing which is around the Earth at 2 levels. And this was done by University of Iowa Professor Dr. Van Allen. It is one of the smallest payload which was used to be, it was launched in the Redstone rocket by Werner von Braun. It was an army ballistic missile. They added a small solid stage and then put it into orbit. But this is a remarkable discovery at that time, because this is nature what is providing as a protection for the for human beings on the earth also. But at the same time, this Van Allen belt, you have to, if the satellite is traveling too many times in that place, it gets affected. But he is no more now, but we have to pay our salute to him for the, finding this important thing in the space, 1958. And then the Luna and Surveyor missions to the moon, this was again the Russians started, Americans followed. But the Luna mission was the first one to have the direct, landing. But it was not a controlled landing. It was a ballistic kind of thing. So but Luna, then the capsule opened and some pictures around the capsule area. One small camera was, propped up, and then that was sent down. And surveyor missions, number of them were launched, but they also had difficulty because of the technology problems of soft landing and many other things. They also had the surveyor also mapped the moon. US Army Defense Mapping Agency was primarily involved in getting the mapping of the moon, which was to be feeding to the Apollo program. And Pioneer and Voyager missions, these are going beyond the outer solar system. And then it has actually the Pioneer, one of them, has even gone beyond the solar system limit, and now it is it is still traveling. Occasionally, I think the Jet Propulsion Lab is monitoring that. They get some signals. And Mars and Venus probe. Mars was primarily researched by the US space program, and the Venus probes were primarily done by Russians. So the Venus has got, very, very difficult, dense atmosphere, including the sulfur compounds and other things. And it is a hostile environment. But now India is planning to have one mission internationally supported. We are having partnership with other countries also to go to Venus, because we have already done, the Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. So Mangalyaan for Mars, but this is another thing. So the Mars and Venus, the why all this is happening is there are 3 or 4 puzzles. That is one for the origin of the universe, then the origin of solar system, then the origin of moon itself. Then we also have the origin of life. So Mars once hosted life forms. That is the theory. So they are trying to work out the, from the digging the samples and also to see whether a primitive form of life existed there. Venus may be very difficult for life forms to exist, but there seem to be some life forms which can survive the high temperature and the sulfuric acid atmosphere, which is a surprising, revelation. And the Hubble Space Telescope was one of the pioneering things for astronomy from space, because the atmospheric things, when you put the big telescopes on the ground, the atmosphere distorts the wave, the light coming, so it also attenuates. So there are other problems. So because of that, they tried to get the scintillation and all to be avoided. They put this telescope in space, which is to look at the planets and all the other, bodies of the universe. Of course, Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan is our contribution from India for the, as Somnath's, that initial introductory thing you have seen, that PSLV was chosen to launch at a very low cost mission for going on Chandrayaan 1, that is the lunar impact probe also we made, moon impact probe, which detected the hydroxyl molecule on the, while it was descending. So this is another thing which, it need not be the very gigantic things like Hubble Space Telescope to detect something. If it is innovation and originality there, you can do wonderful things with small mass and small, but idea has to be something original. And Mangalyaan, we had just say very recently only, I think the last days of Mangalyaan happened. So we bade goodbye to Mangalyaan, that spacecraft. 8 years it has worked. It was designed for 6 months. So this is what I think you'll have to see, how to keep these space systems operating and get useful data for all the scientists who actually put small payloads for the Mars, because the methane emission in Mars and all, primitive life forms might have been existing. So they are studying that. Then the Mars topography, the imaging, three-dimensional pictures to be created, a variety of things are being done. Okay, next. Yeah, next one. Yeah, here the applications, but compared to science, science is for curiosity. It is for new knowledge. Something, not known, you are trying to discover the things. But the applications are driven by the public requirements and needs for a entire population. So the satellite communication was the first idea which came, because unlike the ground systems like microwave towers or the cell phone towers nowadays, but the satellite is giving advantage to give much larger area coverage, bigger swath. And also intercontinental distances can be linked. So this thing, the Arthur Clarke he prophesied the use of geostationary satellites in 1945. Wireless World magazine, he wrote the article. At that time, there was no satellite technology, no space technology at that time. But he wrote that he actually settled in Sri Lanka for a long time back. And then Pardena University was actually doing experiments also. And he was very close friend of Dr. Yashpal and many others in India. So I am telling, an idea was conceived in 1945, geostationary 24-hour orbital period, that satellite can look at the same ground point just as a stationary thing. But the first experiments for the communication experiments were AT&T, Bell Labs. This is known for innovation in the very early days for, especially communication areas and electronics. And the Echo, it was a big inflated balloon, metallized balloon, and then the radar signal will go and then bounce back. They're using that coding, they used to try communication experiments. Next was the Telstar low Earth orbit satellite experiments. This was a bigger one later on. Then SYNCOM, that was but what Arthur Clarke prophesied, the SYNCOM one, synchronous communication satellite, geostationary satellite mission, was done by Dr. Harold Rosen of Hughes Aircraft Company. And, with a very small, only about 130 kilogram, very small satellite, but in geostationary orbit it was placed. And the Tokyo Olympics the signal was transferred from across Pacific to US through that SYNCOM satellite. So that is you can say, the beginning of geostationary satellite communication missions. And he is another pioneer. He was given, very major award in the IEEE, and also the, Draper Prize and many other things he got because of the original. But he didn't get enough support in the beginning, so he took that model to Eiffel Tower in Paris for some, technology show was going on. Then he said, only this high only I can take this satellite. That is Eiffel Tower height, So later somebody, supported that idea, and then that became a reality. And that is the beginning of INTELSAT communication system, international, all countries in the world, UN members countries, they all had the partnership. And RV Earth Station came for India. We had our own Earth Station. That is 100-foot antenna. It was built with Indian technology near Pune. And that is the beginning of the international telecom thing through satellites. Then we followed it with NASA ATS-1 to ATS-6 satellite communication. That was six of the satellites were being built by NASA for advancing technology, primarily for satellite communication, meteorology, and broadcasting. So ATS-6, we used it for experiments in the satellite instructional television experiment for community television sets. So it is chicken mesh antenna 10 foot, and that would be kept in the rural India where unelectrified with battery powered TV sets. It will be astonishing to note that the satellite television and the site experiment, first time in the whole world, we built solid state TV receivers, 150 watts power, whereas the general TV sets at that time available in the world market were 450 watts. So the Dr. Amarjit Singh of Siri Pilani with Dr. Sarabhai's partnership, they developed that system. And that is the one which I think now, whatever you are seeing in the most modern TV sets, they are all having the origin in that kind of thing. Of course, we started early. We also have made use of many, many things. Okay, next. Yeah, next. Here we continue to do with the step with France and Germany jointly developed a geostationary satellite called Symphony, and that was made available for India for 1 year. This is satellite technology experiments for putting it into the national telecom network, how satellite can be integrated. So many experiments are done with transportable terminals and variety of things for the coding, all the echo canceller, variety of things were actually developed at that time for this program. And this was followed by Apple, our own Indian development, where I was fortunate to lead that team of 2,500 people. And this was following the Symphony experiments immediately. And this was a free launch. I will tell about it slightly later. Then it gave way to INSAT system, Indian National Satellite for Television and Telecommunication, and also it had meteorology. Then we have the Hassan, we have the Network Operating Center. But this why it was Hassan was chosen, you have to see. We should not interfere with INTELSAT air stations anywhere. So our Pune air station, RV, Sri Lanka, then some other parts also, this cannot happen. So the survey based on that, and only Hassan was chosen. The navigation satellite is now recent origin. You will see our own regional navigation satellite is being operated by India now. So we are doing it. And deep space network we have for the Chandrayaan-1, which is used for both Chandrayaan and Mars. It is being done near Bangalore, Ramohalli, another place. It is a 100-foot antenna system. It is for deep space network. We are also collaborating with international stations available through Jet Propulsion Lab and many other things. Okay, next. And the other way we are talking about all these things are for the bigger scale and also direct operating systems for the people who are commercial customers. But the student-built satellite initiatives were taken, world over, 1998 onward, the CubeSat. That is you can say 10 centimeter cube. Within that, they try to put a payload and then do communication experiments and variety of imaging experiments and many other things. So we also joined that kind of thing from India. You can read from the bottom, I think, because it is actually chronologically, it is coming from the ANUSAT, Anna University satellite, which was a 40 kg satellite built at that time by the MIT Crumpet campus with students and staff participating. And that was for the store and forward was the main mission for that thing. So at one place, the data is picked up and it dumped at other place, Postman satellite. Next was the StuttSat, Nitte Meenakshi here, there is in Bangalore. They also had about 6 or 7 colleges jointly supporting them, and that was launched with ISRO support. Then Jugnu, which is IIT Kanpur, that also was built with, because IIT Kanpur had the Automotive Technology Research Center. So built around that, they did a much better satellite system. And SRM satellite is SRM University, they launched it before the Indian Science Congress. It is for the limb sounding. That is trace gases in the atmosphere and other things. And Swayam, this College of Engineering, Pune, the previous chairman of AICTE, I think he was director at that time there. Sahasrabuddhe, under his leadership, this satellite, this 800 gram satellite. Satyabhama satellite, which is about 3.5 kg. This was built and launched. It was operated. Then PISAT, where the Institution of Engineers we also supported. And 4 colleges, they came together. Welltech as SKR Engineering, Sona College and Nehru College as a consortia. Institute of Engineers gave only 5 lakhs as a seed money. But 250 student projects got completed with this single project. And the Pratham, this is IIT Bombay, which is, primarily again for the magnetic field and the Earth's environment, all radiation environment, other things they were doing. And NIU SAT is Nurul Islam University, which is more than 14 kg. It is having imaging capability and many others, but it was launched. And but actual in the operational in space, we had some anomaly. So it is still working, but it is not able to get full stability. Because of that, the final mission goal could not be completely achieved. But they have a second model, which is now getting ready for some customer who may be interested in getting it launched for the, both not alone science mission, but it is for the applications. And UnitySat is ITCA supported initiative. Indian Technology Congress supported it. So it was actually 1/3 of it, because I said the 10 centimeter cube is the 1U, or you can say 1U satellite. This 1/3 U, 3 of them are put together and then it is getting launched. So again, it is already in orbit. So one from Chennai, another from Coimbatore, and another Nagpur, 3 institutions jointly supported this mission. So why I'm telling this? This is the way, just beginning for the experiential learning. Whatever is now talked in, in new national education policy, everywhere this is the talk of the time now. But it was initiated by us much earlier. Okay, next. Yeah, you see the pictures of all the satellites, different form factor and other things. So the bottommost is the ANUSAT. As I said, it is a reverse order. StudSat, then Jugnu, SRM, Swayam, Satyabhama, all based on this, you can say the UnitySat was the last one probably to be launched. Because all other things which are getting launched from Sriharikota are student satellites brought from other countries, from Canada, from Europe, from South America, and even Singapore, and many others who are coming from other countries. But this is what I would say in a nutshell. But most of them are working in the amateur band. That is the UHF, VHF band for amateur, reserved for the amateur radio. So the ground station will be less complex, and many students in the campus, they can actually receive signals and operate. Okay, next. This, when you saw the, our Somnath's speaking at that time, he showed that church building, and then the model which is SLV, which is standing in front of that place where we all began our activity in that church building, Magdalena Church. And then the initial, this nose cone which is carrying on a cycle is basically for the sounding rocket launch. It was not out of fun it was done, because the radio silence has to be maintained almost 8 to 10 minutes before the launch. So at that time, one critical part has to be changed or something. So that time, and no vehicle can be moved. All vehicles stopped. So the cycle was available, because internal transport about 2 kilometers, 4 or 5 people can take the cycle at one place and go and then come. So that was cheapest means of, and of course, eco-friendly also nowadays. But this is the thing. And the other part, what you see is the Apple satellite being tested for the, the link budget, because the antenna pattern and then the signal link margin, we had some difficulty because suddenly we found out in the lab that our expectation was not coming. It has to be tested on an antenna test range. So the open field test, we used a bullock cart and then took it to the open field near Pinya, where at that time ISRO Satellite Center was operating. And there about 8 hours, the experiments, everything was done, and then corrections were done. The ground plane correction was the most important thing for the VHF antennas at that time. Next. Yeah, next one. Yeah, this is how the, one single bull cart and then the clean tent. So one of the, the American ambassador visited our campus once at Pinya, and then while we were making the slide presentation, because in those days the carousel, the Kodak carousel slide projector is the only means available. When we showed this slide, they were all curious. Okay, why you are showing this? Then we said that, because of necessity, it was 3 weeks before launch. It has to be transported to France and then French Guiana. So at that time, we found out this problem. So the solution was found by this. It is basically solving the same problem, but not with the most modern technology or the facility available at that time, but with the fundamental principles are same. So this, the Time and Newsweek correspondents who were there, they put, the last cover page. Before that, there will be a half a page columns. So they said, the collision of centuries, the tail of the ox and the most modern high-tech satellite, 300 millimeter, that is, centuries are coming together, high technology at one end and the basic, Indian technology, whatever we have. So we have effectively put them to use. This is what I think they actually praised our effort at that time. Okay, next. And of course, we also had our, now I'll talk about the manned flight things. It was not in the original goal set by Dr. Sarabha in 1968. But finally, once we have got stability, our own infrastructure and our own indigenous strength of technology, now venturing into manned flight was now found as a necessity for certain things. That is, permanently space-based observatories were being built by US and Russians earlier, but that is for the military purpose. The salute and many other things. You can do astronomy experiments, metallurgical experiments, many other things. So that time, when this offer came from Soviet Union, so Rakesh Sharma was chosen from Indian Air Force, Ravish Malhotra. They both were trained. One of them will go to space. So the Rakesh Sharma was chosen for the actual flight on that day. And he went to space 7 days and then came back. He also operated a camera, and then, a variety of experiments he did, including yoga. And also Indian space food, he actually some were carried for him, and he took that thing, squeezing and other things, because it is not free flow, zero gravity conditions. The next is the Kalpana Chawla. She perished in the shuttle flight return because of the thermal problem. The tile, the ceramic tile, some crack, that has actually made the re-entry as a failure. And the whole thing spread over 6 or 7 states of US, the parts fell. So that is so bad as that. And this is Sunita Williams. She is a NASA astronaut even today. She also was going for the commercial crew experiments. She is flying. The other girl, of course, I forgot correct name now, but she is in the Virgin Galactic company, where they are actually flying aircraft and then rocket taking off from there. So up to 100-kilometer altitude they go and then come back. So she was one of the luckiest. She is actually HR manager in that company, but she had that physical fitness and determination to fly. So she has succeeded in that. Okay, next, next one. Now Gaganyaan, it is the, you can say, the most ambitious Indian program now, which is going to be about 7 to 8 tons total mass at the launch. And then it has two major modules, one crew module and then the service module at the bottom. So the vehicle puts the whole thing into the about 300 to 330 kilometer altitude orbit. And from there, the 3 days to 7 days they will spend. And now 4 Indian Air Force people have been selected and they are undergoing training now. And they will be undergoing further training in India, and also along with our launch vehicle team, many other things are being done now. So now the timeline has shifted. Instead of 2022, it will be mostly 2024 and beyond the manned flight. But because we don't call it manned flight anymore, it is only human space flight, whether male or female. So that is the thing. And currently all the 2 unmanned missions will go on the PSLV Mark III, that is renamed as LVM3, Launch Vehicle Mark III. So that is man rating, all the highly redundant, that is quadruplex redundancy, variety of things have been incorporated in that vehicle. So that is undergoing the test. And the re-entry vehicle, which is, the crew module, you will see that bottom spherical part, one part of the sphere, that is the one which is actually having the thermal protection. So it has to take all the heat for the re-entry. It is air braking basically, but extremely high temperature, and then it has survived. So that is what, and whether it is landing on the sea or on the land, that is also, you have to plan for both the things. So after the deceleration by the atmospheric braking, you have to finally come down to lower altitude and then open parachutes and then finally get into the water or on the land. If it is required, you have to survive on the land also. So you have a separate program office now in Bangalore doing all this. The bottom service module will be built by URO Satellite Center at Bangalore, and the crew module all being done at Trivandrum, Vikram Saroj Space Center. Next. Yeah, this is that, why I'm showing this. The Virgin Galactic, this is the, he has actually to carry the rockets at the bottom of the fuselage, and then it is 2-stage or 3-stage. It can take satellites to orbit, and eventually they may also put people to go to orbit and then come back. But initially, the basic vehicle with one small solid rocket, the hybrid rocket, which takes it to 100-kilometer altitude, and then it comes back with the aerodynamically controlled surfaces and other things and lands on a runway, regular runway. So it has been successfully tested now. And I think they are also planning to launch a United Kingdom satellite from the runway of one of the UK airport runways. It will take off from there and then it will launch the satellite also. So this is another uniqueness of the things. But there had been similar efforts already in US for carrying the in Boeing 747 or equivalent of L-1011. There are big aircrafts, the passenger aircrafts. They were modified for the carrying the satellite missions with the 2-stage, hanging below the fuselage. 10-kilometer it is released and then the rocket takes over and then orbit is attained. So that is the kind of thing which India, we don't have that kind of big vehicle aircraft to accommodate this kind of experiments. Okay, next. Yeah, this is the commercial SpaceX, Elon Musk, everybody knows. So now he has allowed the, he is carrying people to International Space Station, also returning them. Supply vehicle also he is providing. And the paying passengers also can be taken to International Space Station and then come back. So this is the return of that capsule, which is coming down in, when it is landing on the water. The ships go and pick them up. Helicopters are actually surveying. So this is the routine operation now they have made it. So, but highly redundant systems are there and highly reliable systems. I think this is very important part of the thing which you have to see, because nothing can be left to chance. But one interesting thing is this is refurbished and reused, unlike the earlier Apollo missions. Okay, next. Of course, our other neighbors, the Chinese thing, now they have already started their own space station. It will have 4 or 5 modules, one habitation module, scientific module, then the service module, like that, all the things. And that is basically power, attitude control, orbit control, variety of things have to be done by the vehicle. And then rendezvous and docking of the crew coming, going out, and then extravehicular activity for repairing anything. Variety of things have to be done. So this is about 100 tons kind of, in orbit. Whereas the International Space Station is 400 tons. So it is much bigger. But this is, you can say, 100 tons equivalent. And this is using their heaviest launcher, which is putting about 25 tons in capability in low Earth orbit. So each time it is sending about 20 tons module into low Earth orbit, and then they go and then their own autonomously they go and dock and then join with the existing systems. But these are again people, I have seen the people who are in the in 1986 on the national conference I attended on behalf of the as Indian representative. That time they were actually undergoing training for the Chinese. They call them taikonauts. That is a Chinese word, taikonauts. And these are all maybe the Air Force or Navy, their own equal. Like mostly they are taking people with fitness and agility of mind, and you can say in overcoming extreme stress. So I think that is the quality which they are always looking for. And the takeoff, this is in Wenchang, this is Hainan Island, there is a southern part of the China. There is South China Sea, there is an island protruding. So there they have the launch pad for this. Okay, close to equator. Okay, next. Yeah, next one. So now now with all this on one side, nice things are happening. But in India, it was primarily government driven, and then we have liberalized the opening of the Indian space program has taken place. So June 2020, new space policy promotes startup firms taking part in space efforts. Indian and foreign customers will get launch service on demand from NSIL. That is, NSIL is the New Space India Limited. That is a commercial arm of the Department of Space. InSpace is the regulatory body, and also approval will be given for the access to Indian, entrepreneurs to use Indian facilities, our government facilities, and also take the services also. Then you can see recently the Agnikul, they have actually started their own testing launchpad in Sriharikota based on the approval given here only. Then quality and safety will have to be tightly controlled. ISRO know-how and licensing is also allowed. opening up the doors for innovation, because innovation is easily said than done. So this is where I think, the bright ideas from new people will probably boost up the prospects for the space program of India. Okay, next. So now small satellites have come to the forefront. CubeSats have matured with increasing capability. Missions for science, technology, and intersatellite links are demonstrated. 1U to 12U missions have been successfully flown. Democratizing space technology has been accomplished by this. Globally, more than 3,000 small satellites have been built and launched by student teams. Okay. So this is you can say why academic institutions and research institutes can come together, and then interdisciplinary program can be accomplished in a very small size. So this is a very, very important idea which has become practical now. Next. So this is all said and done, finally the taxpayers' money or the public money. So the return on investment. So the civilian early warning system, whether it exists, say yesterday and today, the cyclone movement was shown in the television channels all over the place. You have seen how the eye of the cyclone is also in the picture, it has come. So these are all possible because of the geostationary satellites and low Earth orbiting satellites. But disaster relief operations support, because most of the time the cell phone towers collapse and the satellite is the only means available. So satellite telephone has become a necessity. Other is the amateur radio things also. And healthcare and epidemiology support. This is very important because this immediately you have to reach the food to the right place, medicines to the right place. So that requires the navigation supported packages delivery. So this is what I think you will have to see. Okay, next. And here you saw, this is one of the earlier cyclone pictures, Amphan, and then this is the solar flare, and the other part is the vegetation index. That is how green India is. That is no drought. I think drought onset can be monitored by satellite. Every 2.5 days, one picture is generated by the orbiting satellite. 700 kilometers swath, it takes pictures in multiple bands. And by proper processing, they get the vegetation index. And similarly, the potential fishing zone, there is another ocean color monitor, the satellite which was launched recently, that is the continuation of the earlier service. So there, the phytoplankton, the chlorophyll is the one which is finally the food chain of the fish, where it is accumulating. The fish school will come there where food is available. So the ocean color monitor delivers that kind of information. So these are things which you will have to see how the science can blend into the real life requirements. Okay, next. And this Orissa cyclone relief, they got the information in advance, and then the devastation was very extensive, but life was saved very, very great way by the, mobilizing the disaster mitigation teams, warnings, and then taking them to shelters. So this is one thing which I think globally admired operation at that time done by the revenue departments and also the scientific departments and the military, the local paramilitary, all the people who are, at that time available for relief operations, they were all helped by the satellite-based services. This is something which has got the attention everywhere. Okay, next. And this forest fire, this is another one. World over, so many places the forest fire is occurring. Even the aerial tankers, converted aircraft is used carrying water and then dumping. So this is another rescue and relief operations in inaccessible area. Everywhere information is important and timeliness of the information, and then the rescue operations. So this is a very important thing. So navigation signal is a must. At the same time, for monitoring of forest fire, it is a natural wealth is damaged. So you have to act very quickly, and the current technology, the sensing the forest fire from the satellite is the easiest means now compared to all the other. We have the forest rangers sitting at the forest areas, but still the overall coverage is made easier by satellite service. Okay, next. And now the IoT, it is a catchword everywhere, Internet of Things. So the ground-based sensor distributed all over the place for variety of sensing, and then satellite constellations will provide the near real-time access to data, collecting them and then collating them. So put it in a cloud or any other place. So world over the data can be distributed and made available. Okay, next. And this is the important things. Lightning data, 100,000 lightnings occur every day according to the data around the globe. And sea erosion mapping, that is another thing, because most of coastal areas are affected. Tsunami warning, then earthquake monitoring with radon gas precursor, because before the actual earthquake occurs, the radon gas is coming up. So how to detect it from space? There are variety of sensor being developed also for this. Okay, next. And this is where I think, on one side, we found the visionary leadership of Dr. Sarabhai created the goals and missions, and Dr. Satish Dhawan, who is no more now, but he consolidated and then gave the flesh and blood for the organization to meet the time-bound, goal-oriented mission mode projects. So that is what I think, Somnath, that introductory thing, I just wanted to play that thing because you must get a flavor for the how things are being done. So this is where I think, he said if there is an early warning system, the enemy aircraft or enemy intrusion is detected, and then within few minutes, we scramble the jets and then, go to defend our borders. Why not for the civilian early warning? Why did the Surat plague occur? Why did the Bhopal tragedy occur? Or any of those things. So the early warning system, and then the drought is coming. So this year the crop will not be so good. So you may have to import oil seeds, or you may have to buy something from other country. All those things are critical decision-making things. It has to be enabled. So civilian early warning system has to be set up compared to even the defense early warning system. That is his unfulfilled goal or wish, I think, which we have to keep in mind when entrepreneurship is now coming in a big way. For more than 500 startups are going to be, operating in India now. So some of them will have to play the role for this setting up this civilian early warning system. Of course, not free, but it should be on payment basis. The service should be charged, but it is for everybody's benefit. So that I think will have to be thought of. Use space as a means at that time. Okay. Next. This is the, as I said, it is the, you have to make it a reality. Technology is available, and UNISEC is partnering with the Indian Technology Congress Association. That is the University Science Engineering Consortia, Satellite Engineering Consortia. Then the Israel and Serbian efforts are also, we are aware of that. Such a system will help UN and national agencies in times of calamity. Saving of life and property on a global scale will be the reward. And this is something which I think some of the entrepreneurship ideas have to come out of this goal and then make it a reality, but on a cost-effective basis, because India can do it much cheaper than all other countries in the world. So this is where I think the education system of India has to blend the entrepreneurship of this kind of far-sighted goals, and then put the interdisciplinary teams from the first year onwards to work on these kind of things, and then build the idea to test it and prototype it, and then finally productionize on a massive scale. So that is what I think we'll have to really look for the, as an enabler for the future prosperity of the country in many chosen areas. Okay, next. Yeah, this will be now, of course, the mission, the 75 students build satellites is one sub goal, which I think ITCA is, promoting, and many institutions, you are also listening now from those institutions. So this is something which you'll have to see how quickly we can get the results, and the, we can say consortia of the colleges or individual institutions, or even the, you can say constellation of satellites for commercial service. All that is open to the people who are now partnering in this kind of effort. So ITCA will be the enabler for this. So I hope that this experiential learning, that it is not purely, rote learning or the textbook learning, because the knowledge as it exists in the textbook, it is fossilized knowledge. The journal is perishing knowledge, and the new things and innovation, you have to go far beyond these two. So, and that is where I think the experiential learning, not alone in compartmentalized form, but in the interdisciplinary mode of working together, you have to make it a reality. So I think space will give one such good way of really getting that into, into practice. So that is what I think I would say. Our reimagining the future, it is out of the space as one enabler, I think, but a very, very effective enabler. That would be the gift that we can give to the country. Okay. Next. Yeah, I think the way forward, already you have been partner with the ITCA is helping, and the SSLV, the new launch vehicle, the small satellite launch vehicle will be primarily the carrier for these kind of small satellites, as a, multiple of them will be launched. So that is what I think you'll have to see. So the low Earth orbit is a resource which has to be immediately made use of. And then new way of using those orbit things and the satellites which are going in that orbit has to be harnessed for practical benefits. What was imagined till now, beyond that. So that is what we would have to see. Okay, next. So okay, this is the end, I think. So I hope that you got some flavor for the ideas of not just stopping with building one CubeSat and then one Earth station, and then getting some data and